Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to welcome you all. It's me again, Kiss Your Screens. Today on our agenda, we have the topic how to find your inspiration. A lot of people experience these melancholic slumps throughout their musical careers, especially those who actually make music. When a person starts to wonder, questions like, I don't really know how to keep writing, something's just not working, what should I do? People often come to me with these kinds of questions, asking how I deal with it if it happens to me. So let's get started. Let's start with the fact that, well, personally, I guess I'm not really that emotionally sensitive of a person. I don't really experience that, seriously. If I need to write a track, I just sit down and write it. Just like a robot, like a machine. And a lot of people will say, that's kind of emotionless. There's no piece of the universe in it. There's no real creative spark of it. You're basically writing based on what you know. You're assembling music. It's like building with a construction set. But some people think you have to get it from somewhere, from the cosmos, like you're waiting for it. Like a signal will come straight from a black hole, right from the singularity. And if you're not waiting for that, then you're not really a musician. So let's break it down. For me, it rarely happens, but if I really have to rewrite the music from scratch, I just say, I'm taking a break. I don't want to do anything. And that's it. So I wouldn't call that a loss of inspiration. That's not what I'd call it. It's just that sometimes you need to take a forced day off or a forced vacation in that sense. So, using my students as an example, I'll explain what needs to be done. I've been observing this for a long time, and it happens differently for everyone. Some people start freaking out. Some fall into a kind of depression, which is something you should really try to avoid. So, what should you rely on to make things work out better for you when you're staring at a blank page? And now you need to create a track, but nothing is coming to you. Try sitting down with a pen and paper sometime and write out from your head what you enjoy most about making music. For example, some people enjoy writing melodies the most. Some people get a real kick out of that. Others love writing the bass line. Some people get a thrill from working on the drums. They enjoy programming drums, and that's what gives them a buzz. Some people love getting inspired by samples. They sit somewhere on Splice, scroll through samples, and then stumble upon something. Boom, it hits them. Suddenly, a flood of ideas comes to mind. Some people get a kick out of synthesis. They just sit there with a synthesizer, tweaking knobs, enjoying it, and suddenly some wild new timbre appears that starts to inspire them. So here's your answer to the question. How do you get rid of that effect? That blank page syndrome, so that you can finally start writing something, have something to build on, so that this moment, this technique, gives you the push you need to keep working on it. This is usually advice for dealing with a blank page. It's that problem with inspiration. Let's imagine you've managed to get started from scratch, and you've created your first texture. You've written the texture. You've got a bass, a melody, harmony, and drums in there. So you've written one structural part, but then you lose inspiration again, and you can't fill out your track or develop it in terms of form. You can't develop it horizontally in terms of the storyline. That's it for you. You're stuck again. What should you do? Here, you need to step out of the creator mode, the one who makes the track, and switch to a mode where you listen to references. And maybe one of them will inspire you. So you've written your track and immediately realize, okay, I ended up with this genre. Maybe you got something like synthwave. Or, for example, you ended up with slap house. Or maybe you got mid-tempo. Or you ended up with trap drill. And so on. You go and look for some interesting tracks in those genres. Listen, and stumble upon one you like, one whose moves you find interesting, and pay attention to how its structure develops. That's where you draw ideas from, and the inspiration problem is solved. Here's another technical tip for you on how to deal with scaling tracks, by the way, if it's just not working out. You take one texture you've written, and right away, once you figure out what genre you ended up with, if you weren't aiming for anything specific, you go and scroll through those genres and related ones. You look for transition techniques there, other structural parts, how they build the breakdown, what they fill it with, what they use to fill, say, the verse section, what they use to fill it, an alternative drop. Everything immediately falls into place, so to speak. You can also just jot down all these ideas from there by hand. So when you start copying everything from there, what they're doing there, suddenly you'll feel inspired in one spot. You'll get that itch, and you'll want to keep writing. As a general and widely accepted rule, this consistently and significantly helps. Indeed, this represents the very first and most fundamental approach you can readily try to effectively address and resolve any challenges or difficulties related to issues concerning a lack of inspiration or creative blocks. What else can you draw inspiration from? It's pretty good, and honestly, I think that's how I've always found inspiration. It's about gathering knowledge about music, different techniques and tricks. You learn something new, and it all builds up in your head. And at a certain point, it starts bursting out again, coming to the surface. Everyone uses it differently, right? Some people use it to create tracks, others use it in teaching, blogging, and so on. So you can watch more educational videos, pick up all sorts of techniques from there, and at a certain point, you'll feel the urge to create again because you'll have so much of this stuff built up inside you. It'll be overflowing. For some people, it's even more than enough. They don't need to accumulate all of it, and that's it. Literally, the next day, someone is already running off and applying all of it in their own track. So, just from the feeling that now you know more interesting things, that also gives a pretty strong boost of inspiration, so that finally that light bulb goes off for you. You can use my technique. It's like this. It's kind of soulless. It relies on discipline, on some sort of inner protest, you know? It's like you tell yourself, I'm a professional machine. I'm going to sit down and get it all done right now. And you sort of forget about everything else. Yeah, maybe things won't go smoothly or work out perfectly right away, but you have this feeling that you really know a lot about this field. And naturally, that gives you a lot of strength in this regard. So, this technique is probably best suited for those who have been in music for a long time and are struggling with this issue. You just approach it with this kind of insanely, artificially inflated self esteem. Strangely enough, that works too, naturally. I know that for most musicians, social factors aren't a big motivator, but you can still apply this to yourself. You can look at some artists who won a Grammy at 20 or around your age and ask yourself, hey, why don't I have one? But that's just one way to look at it. It's not necessary to think about it like that. For example, that factor doesn't really motivate me, but for some people, it really lights a fire under them. They get fired up and just go for it, working their butt off. So just figure out what works best for you personally. These are some simple, straightforward techniques you can use. You can motivate yourself with some old school, tried and true methods if you will not. It could even mean not writing music for a while, just going for a walk, doing some sports, taking a few days off to recharge, finding something to inspire you, maybe even traveling to another country or going on some tours. Usually that works pretty well too, when you deliberately forbid yourself from writing for a while. But this method doesn't really work for people who, for example, someone who writes music maybe once a month and then says, oh, I didn't feel inspired, so I opened a project and then I went on vacation for another month. This approach works better for those who are seriously working on commissions and, for example, don't have any days off at all, like me. So in this case, it's actually appropriate to use this kind of approach. It works if you really feel that way. Go out, take a walk somewhere, like through Rome at night, for example. Look at all those ancient monuments. Go visit some waterfalls. Take a trip to the mountains. And just don't write anything at all. Seriously, don't write. This is an ancient method, and not just for composers. It applies to poets and many other creative types, professions, and not just creative ones, actually. Even physicists and nuclear scientists have come up with all this for themselves, too. All sorts of fun things that dangerously explode in all kinds of spectacular, beautiful natural places. So, feel free to use it. The next point you can use for yourself is actually similar to the previous one, which is not forbidding yourself to write music, just changing your location. For example, take a simple setup. You don't need to drag your whole studio with you. Just grab your laptop, an audio interface, and headphones, and move. To some little house in the countryside, for instance, to your grandma's place. Or rent a cabin in the woods. Set everything up there and spend some time in the fresh air. Inspiration will come right away, unless a bear eats you, of course. So I hope I was able to help you, because these are techniques that basically I've recommended this to many people, depending on their work situations, to students and artists, because artists deal with the same issues, with songwriting and so on. So all the best to you, friends.